I'd just like to introduce you to the audience and introduce the audience to you. Here in the office, I am talking with Glenval Griffiths, and he's from Griffiths Insurance and Financial Services. And he's about to tell us the significance of financial services in dream building. So Glen, tell our audience out there, what's the significance of financial services in dream building?
Well, Genese, thanks for having me. I appreciate that. I love talking about what I do, and I love the impact I have with people. What's the significance? Well, let's face it. If most of us look at our dreams, there is a financial component, all right? And even for the ones that don't have a financial component, if you got financial issues, you're going to have less brain power to concentrate on getting those dreams done. So it still ties in, right? So finances, definitely a big part of dream building.
Good. So they're watching you, they're listening to you, they're intrigued by what you're saying. So can you just tell them, just in case they're interested in what you have to say, what sets you apart from every other financial advisor out there?
Well, I'd like to say, I'm the best there is, but I won't do that. I'll just say this. I don't think there's many advisors that can give you the value that I can, right? Now, I've been doing this for 20 years, and while longevity doesn't mean that you're good at what you do, I happen to know that I am. Yes, I'm going to toot my own horn. Here's the bottom line. I want to find out about you. What's important to you? What are your goals? What are your dreams? A dream building. Because at the end of the day, a lot of people initially come to me with a product or a purchase in mind. I just bought a house, I need insurance. And they're thinking about that. And I'm sitting going, I'm Glen. If we do this right, I'm going to be in your life for the next 20 to 30 years. It's a relationship build, right? Now, that may not be the focus at the time for that person, right, but that is where I'm coming from, right? And that being said, that doesn't mean everybody's going to be a fit, right? And if you're not a fit, you'll either know it, or I'll say, you know what, this probably isn't a good fit for you. But I'm looking at helping people to achieve their dreams, and we're going to build a relationship over the next 20, 30 years if things go the way they should, and we're going to get some things done.
And I like the fact that you mentioned relationship, because people are looking for someone who they can build a relationship with. When you have an advisor, you want somebody who you can trust. You have to like your advisor, right? And I'm sure there are people out there wanting to know, if they decide to come to you, if I should refer to you one of my clients, what can they expect in terms of consultation? Do you offer like a free consultation to them? What can they get? Do you offer anything free for them?
Good question. Look, I'll do initial consultation for free. And especially if they're coming from you. Because understand, I'm looking to help serious people. I'd love to say I work with everybody. I don't. I want to work with people who are serious. Now, does that mean that you're ready to go? Not necessarily, right? But I'm going to interview you as much as you're interviewing me. Right? I want to find out what your goals and dreams are. And we're going to get some stuff put down on paper. Right? And then we can both go and think about it to see if this makes sense to proceed. But for a consultation, no, I'm not going to charge you. Right? Now, there's people, again, I mentioned relationship. There has been, and I'll use one example, a gentleman who this is back in the days when I went to everybody's house. I rarely do that now. Wow. But I've gone to his house a couple of times, way in the other end of town, spent hours with this gentleman, got some stuff put together, worked hours behind, putting up a plan, and went nowhere. And that happens, don't get me wrong. A couple of years later, I hear from this gentleman and he's saying, hey Glen, I need a quote for insurance because I just bought a house. Congratulations. Right. But before we go there, I have a retainer. Here's my disclosure that says there's a retainer. His response was, why would I pay you for a quote? I'm like, no, you can go online and get quotes all you want. You're paying for 20 years of expertise and you're paying for analysis. I know your health situation. I can look at the cheapest things online and I can tell you that this one, you're not going to get that because of this particular thing in your health history. You don't know that ahead of time. But you might go on and apply and then get a decline on your record. That can be minimized or avoided, my expertise, right? But I'm not willing to just sit there and be, lack of a better word, be used.
Right.
I want somebody who's serious. Now again, it's not that you need to move ahead right away, but you show me good faith, I give you good faith, right? So when I said that, this gentleman was up in arms, and he's like, well, no, I'm not going to pay for illustrations. And I went, then we just both saved each other some time. Good luck and congratulations on your place.
Wow.
Because at the end of the day, you're not going to work for free,
Mm-hmm.
and my time is valuable. My family deserves a compensation. I put in the years to build myself up, so I'll find people appreciate that. Now again, I'll be frank. That's rarely happened where I have put that out, but in situations like that, where I get that feeling, I will put that out.
Okay.
And if the person's not serious, as in most cases, they decide to go somewhere else, well then we probably weren't going to work together anyway. Now, there's been the cases where I'm wrong. I'm not God. There's been a couple cases where I'm wrong, and what happens is, if that person or family goes ahead and does a plan with me,
Mm-hmm.
and we get something done, they purchase products, I'm going to get paid.
Okay.
So when I get paid, I refund that retainer because I don't believe in double dipping.
Mm-hmm.
If you're going to make a commitment to work with me, then I don't need that, right? Because over the next couple of decades, and that's how I look at it, beginning of a relationship, I'm going to get compensated. Either if it's just what you've done, you're going to love my service, and you're likely going to refer me to somebody else as well, right? So that's how I work.
Okay, sounds good. So what I'm hearing you're delivering more value for them, and people love value, right? You'd agree that to me. We all love to receive more use value than we're getting cash value. So I can hear Glen saying that. So as you talk about value, I mean, I am curious. Tell me about some of the things that you've been doing. What are some good things you've been doing out there now?
I'd say most of it's been good, but some of the fun stuff.
Right.
In 2018, I went to 8 graduations, a few high school, some university.
Mm-hmm.
To be invited by a family who you've been working with to help them get the education plans right for their kids, and to see the pride, not just of those kids, I say kids, sometimes they're early 20s,
Right.
but to see those kids and the parents knowing that something's been accomplished and they're on the verge of accomplishing more,
Mm-hmm.
and that I help them to put things in place,
Yeah.
awesome feel. To be, to see things like that, to help people buy not just their first house, but subsequent homes,
Mm-hmm.
because we can say, okay, hold on, let's look at your situation. Is there a more efficient way to fund things so you come out further ahead than just doing what you normally do?
Right.
Well, if I've been working with you a while, I know your situation. Or if you're new and when we're doing our getting to know you and our disclosure, if you let me know exactly what's going on, then a lot of times I come up with ideas that you wouldn't even have thought of that can help you be more efficient in acquiring and keeping that purchase, right? So been there for those two. I invited some housewarmings and I'm like, yes, glad I was able to help with that.
Right.
But I've been on the other end of things,
Good.
right? I've been there where I've helped write up a critical illness policy on a child at 9 years old, that at 12 years old, a $50,000 check was delivered. Nobody expected that, but because the parents did the right thing, they have some offsetting funds to help them concentrate on taking care of the family. I've been there to deliver many death benefits, the most recent being last week, right, for a gentleman, for a client of mine. These are the things. And when things like that happen, they don't have to call 1-800 number. They
Right.
call me and I get to work. I contact the companies, I let them know what's going on. I find out what will be needed to satisfy that claim, and then I come back to that family, right? And I'm there. If they need me to be there for a funeral, I'm generally there. Most people don't ask, but if it's in town, I'm gonna go anyway,
Okay.
right? Things like that. And at a time, let me tell you, it's not the fun stuff, but it's the serious, life-altering stuff. At the time when you're losing a family member or a friend, depending on the case, when you're having to make quick decisions in a short period of time, funeral home, arrangements, and along with those decisions come payment, pay for this, pay for this, pay for this. I'm one of the only guys walking in that door with a check. This does not replace your loved one, but this gives you some options that they were thoughtful enough to pre-plan to make sure you would have, so we can take some of the pressure off and some of the stress off.
Yeah.
And that is an awesome, awesome feeling.
And I'm sure it's reassuring with all you've been hearing, and people have been hearing, a lot of people may have different views about insurance company, but when they're going through that situation and they have a check coming in, during those challenging times, and an agent who shows that they care, I'm sure that means the world to them. And
It
at
does.
that time, I'm sure it's a really good feeling that you're having.
It is the best feeling. It is the best. Look, I had a widow with 2 teenage daughters sit there with me, and we sat down and she held on to my hand and she goes, "Are we gonna be okay?" That's a tough question to get asked. And what I said to her was, if you keep things within the range that you've been doing, you will be fine. That's all she wanted to hear. Yeah. Right? Now, I'll tell you, part of my expertise, in her situation, she didn't need the cash immediately. So what I suggested was when she got that death benefit, let's put it in a bank account with one of the other companies I deal with that is an advisor type bank. And people go, well, why don't you put it in your own bank? Let me tell you what happens when you have $500,000 or $1 million or $1.5 million in your bank. The teller is trained to call the people upstairs, we'll say upstairs, and they're gonna be calling you. Why? Because at the end of the day, when that kind of money hits a bank account, they want to make sure it stays with that institution. Now, it's not a bad thing, that's what institutions do. But that's not a call most people want to get while they're going through a grieving process, trying to figure out final arrangements. So we delayed that. Actually, she waited 6 months before she transferred about half of the money. And within the next day, she got a call and she said, "Glenn, if that had happened right when my husband died, I would have lost it on that person," right? She was still upset, but this was 6 months later. So these are a lot of the intangibles most people only think about or realize. That's part of the expertise. And that's not everybody's situation. Most people are going to have an immediate need for that cash. But again, it's one of those things. I've been asked, what do I do? Do I pay off the mortgage? I'm like, hold on, slow down. You don't have to make that commitment. The key is you have the funds to do so. If you're not in a hurry, let it go for a little bit. But my friend says to avoid the interest, don't make any huge decisions right now if you don't have to. That again is my expertise. Look, if you're gonna pay 3 to 6 months worth more interest, do you care when you know in your head that I could get rid of this at any time? Probably not. And sometimes it's the right decision to not pay it off. Right. Because now you're in a position, maybe you say, you know what, I can fund this business. Or there's this rental property I can go get my hands on. It's a lot easier to go buy cash than to dump it on the mortgage and now have to go reapply to get the equity out. Little intangible steps that most people would not think about or realize. That's 20 years of expertise, right? So these are, again, the intangibles. We talk about buying online, and I'm gonna log here for a little bit, but that's me. There's a lot of companies popping up online selling the cheapest insurance. Do you drive the cheapest car? Do you drive the stick shift with no air conditioning? And if you do, good for you being frugal, but most of us don't. Right. Because we see value in the air conditioning, we see value in the automatic transmission. It's not always the cheapest thing. So in a case like that, I'll tell you this, there's companies out there that are selling insurance, and it's not bad. If you die within the time period, it pays out. But when that time period's up, there's not what's called an automatic renewal. Every company I sell with has a renewal. Right. Otherwise, I don't sell their product. Right? What that means is it's going to renew at a much higher price, but the option is, if you're in great health, you can go get another one. And there's some other options I won't get into right now because it's time consuming. Okay. But with some of these, you have no choice. Now, if your health's not good, I can tell you, I've had clients with active cancer that would love to keep that policy, even though it's going to cost a little bit higher. If you don't have that choice because you decided to save 20 cents a month, these are things you don't foresee where my expertise comes in. Right? So for more information, we'll have subsequent chats, but just wanted to give a little bit of introduction where my value comes in and what I bring to the table.
Right, and thanks for sharing. And on this note, we're just going to end today by saying thank you, Glen. Thank you. Here again, just to remind you, this is Glenval Griffiths from Griffiths Insurance and Financial Services. And just to remind you, we're actually doing our series on financial dream building. We will be having more educational sessions with you. So we just invite you to join us, like us, subscribe to the channel, then you can get all the updates of when our next session is. And we'd love to have you. If you're interested, you love what you hear, you can check in the description below. You can check Glen's website. You can check out what he has to offer if you want a free consultation. But as I say, we're going to be here for a while, and we're looking forward to having discussion with you. And that's it for now, and we'll see you again at our next session.